to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Thursday, April 3rd. Feel like I was just here with you fine gentlemen recording.
Yeah, feels that way. Feels that way.
This show. Welcome in, one and all. Wide receiver, tight end, rookie preview show today, which means the NFL draft is right around the corner. We're excited to see where these prospects land. And I'm always, every year I go into it thinking will all of the Cardinals selections fail? Will it just be most of them? I never know.
Every couple drafts they hit on one.
Like Andy Isabella.
That would not
Rondale
qualify.
Moore.
Oh, man.
We like them small and ineffective.
Yeah.
I was so excited for the Rondale Moore draft.
You were?
I was.
I was not.
He had that crazy breakout year as a true freshman.
I was not excited about the Andy Isabella over the monster that was DK Metcalf. That's for sure. But yeah, it's draft season, which means rookie drafts. Something I know nothing about because I never have rookie picks. But we're going to be talking through wide receivers and tight ends. If you missed it, Tuesday, we talked through quarterbacks and running backs, giving you a general overview of our rankings before the NFL draft and how we see these players panning out in terms of fantasy significance for your teams. And so today it's wide receivers and tight ends, so we'll jump into that shortly. A reminder, the Ultimate Draft Kit pre-order discount available right now. It releases in full on June 1st, but the Dynasty Pass is already available. You can get that at ultimatedraftkit.com. The UDK includes all of our player profile videos, our premium stat projections, our sleepers, our breakouts, our busts, our values, everything you need to dominate your draft, set the foundation for your league. It is, very much the premier product on the market for your drafts and in terms of the way our team is working towards making that the most successful thing it can be. Ultimatedraftkit.com to check that out. And then we do have an announcement.
Ooh.
All right.
It's that time.
I'm going to say it one time. One time. We are seeking some new writers for the 2025 NFL season. FootClanHelp.com is where you go to apply. And for Kyle's sanity, our editor-in-chief, Kyle Borgononi, please submit a writing sample to let us know that you can write for one of the writer's spots.
It's an important part of the position.
If we were hiring a talker, we would want a talking sample.
Look,
but we're hiring writers.
Maybe you're out there and you're hoping to write for us. You're like, I just don't have anything yet. Well, and you're like, I mean, because people see, you see a resume posted, and you're like, I don't meet a lot of qualifications on this, but I'm gonna go for it anyways. I'm gonna shoot my shot. If you shoot your shot on this one without a writing sample, it's a dud.
You're shooting blanks.
Yeah. And so if you don't have one, write. Go knock it out right now and then submit it.
Show us what you got. We mentioned this once here now on the show, which is footclanhelp.com. That's where the application is. We're not going to post about it. We want people who listen to the show, who are part of this community. We have an awesome team of writing staff. We do this once a year. We'll get about 500 applications, and I know that yours is going to be the best.
What's going on, Chuckles?
I am laughing at Kyle shared somebody's writing sample that they submitted for a previous application was indeed a local path to a file on their computer. Which we can't.
C drive users.
We don't have
access your computer
to your computer yet.
If you want to mail your full computer to us and then give us the path, we could find it.
If you go that route, don't forget to give us your password,
right?
So we can actually boot in.
Right. So Yes, Kyle was making me laugh. So there you go.
Man.
FootClanHelp.com. Quick question of the day. This one comes in from the website. Davey writes in, "Hey, ballers, is it ever worth reaching on a player in your draft? I feel like the possibility of hitting on a reach is much lower than just waiting it out and hoping to hit on players in later rounds. What are your thoughts?"
Yeah, I mean, there are definite times where it's valuable to reach, but it's really a matter of how confident are you they won't be around in the next round. Whether this is a rookie draft or startup draft or just your normal redraft that you play in every year, there's definitely a point where it's foolish. You don't want to reach multiple rounds on a guy because that's just not getting good enough value.
You're not playing the market.
If you look at ADP and the success of players drafted in the first versus the second versus the third, all the way down through the 14th round, it does a pretty good job. Generally speaking, it's correct that the players drafted higher outperform the players drafted later. Now, obviously, that's not a linear 100% truth. There are great picks late, but if you're reaching more than where you think you can get them comfortably with your next pick, then you are sacrificing higher end talent.
I think that is 100. Everything you said was 100% true. My propensity to reach is proportional to the rounds.
Yes.
So I'm not going to reach for a guy I like that should go in the third in the first round. That's insane. But I might reach for a guy I like in the fifth round that might be projected to go in the seventh because it will make me happy. Sure. And that's part of my philosophy is there are some players I'm going to want to leave the draft with that are projected to go later that maybe my league mates are going to know that I want and they're going to target them around earlier. So I got to go around ahead of that, and it will make me happy to have them on my team. And so, but I'm not gambling early. I will do that later in drafts. That's my general philosophy.
Do you find that in a dynasty versus a redraft league that you want to reach more?
Yeah.
Or overpay more for the guys you just love?
Yeah, because value is way more subjective in dynasty. So ADP is not, like, to me, there's so much more room for error because of the amount of years of error that it will represent if it's wrong. So if you really have a conviction in dynasty, that conviction pays off for 5 years or it burns you for 5 years.
And in a rookie draft, look, don't draft day 3 running backs. You're like, oh, the spot, it's unbelievable. It's the best spot possible. Don't draft it like a day 3 running back over a day 2 wide receiver. Like, just don't do that because your odds of hitting on that are so low. And let's say I don't like that player that I'm slotted for, or this tier of players then trade back. Do something with your value other than saying I am the smartest person in the entire world, and I know the one player that's going to hit over all these other guys who the NFL is telling us are good players. So be careful when in your rookie drafts when you're reaching. Once you're in like the middle of the second or in your third round of a rookie draft, that's when it's I'm smarter than you and I know what guys to go get.
Yeah, grab the guy you want because they're all going to suck.
Yeah,
right.
And just to bring it to the UDK and how we rank players, we put them in tiers. And so if you get to the point later on in your draft where you have not a lot of confidence in a certain tier at a position or something like that, that might be a justification to reach a little bit somewhere else. If you're like, well, you know what, I have no confidence that anybody that's projected in this round is going to be great. Maybe I'm going to just reach around for a guy that...
Take the tight end there then or something.
Yeah, I know. I said reach around.
Yeah.
You laughing back there, Cackles?
No. Jason's response. Jason's eyes said it all.
Did you really,
Oh,
Jason?
yeah. I mean, come on. You said it. I heard it.
Come on, you children. Mike and I are out here trying to be professionals.
I don't even know what the joke is. I'm so
Mike and I
in.
are so locked into this
There are
studiousness.
at least 200,000 people that eyebrows went up, same as mine.
Man, mine did. I know what I said. Goodness gracious. Let's move on.
Hey, rookie. Welcome to the NFL.
Sometimes you got to reach 2 rounds.
Yes.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
There you go. Yeah, for sure.
All right. A reminder, like I said on Tuesday, today we're talking wide receivers and tight ends, but the Dynasty podcast, if you want more in-depth analysis on all of these players, the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty podcast is perfect for you. The Dynasty Pass is part of the UDK at ultimatedraftkit.com, and we have a lot of rookie profile articles on the website, so a good chance to shout out those writers that are part of our team that are producing some amazing work in terms of film evaluation, combine production, player production analysis, and a lot of really good work. So you can check their work out at thefantasyfootballers.com. Wide receivers. We've got lots of teams that need them, but is this a draft class to supply a difference maker? New England, Arizona, the Chargers, lots of different teams in need. The Giants, Denver, New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this, and you've seen it on the open market for free agency. This is not a universally beloved wide receiver class. Will there be some really fantasy relevant hits? Of course, there have to be. The NFL needs them, and these guys are going to have draft capital, and there will be talent. But as far as the depth and brevity of like the entire wide receiver class, it doesn't stack up to other years,
right?
Both in terms of depth and the elite. The elite talent at the top. You know, the last couple of years we've had the prospects of Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas. You know, all three of those guys I think are better prospects than anyone in this draft class, personally, and I think that's universally believed.
So some of those teams I mentioned, you know, New England, they bring in Diggs. Arizona draft Harrison last year, still have a need. Chargers, McConkey, still have a need.
Mm-hmm.
Giants, Neighbors, still have a need.
Yep.
And then Denver, one piece of news we didn't talk about on Tuesday was no extension yet for Cortland Sutton. So, you know, they have some needs there. New Orleans outside of Olave, you know, Brandon Cooks is not the future. So, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity, right? And if these players are better than advertised, the opportunities might be there to produce for fantasy, and rookies can make those contributions. Jumping right in, Tetairoa McMillan, T-Mac, wide receiver out of Arizona. We all have him number one on our board. Not necessarily going to be the number one wide receiver off the board, which,
right.
You know, you look at last year when you had
things are shifting right now.
Neighbors and Harrison, and you had these very prolific, you know, kind of Jamar Chase level prospects. We're not sitting there this year.
No, I mean, you last year it was like, how early are these wide receivers going to go? How many are going to go in the top 10, the top 15? This year I've seen mock drafts where Tetairoa is the first wide receiver drafted, and it's in the 20s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it kind of gives you an idea. I think Tetairoa is the number one prospect in this year's class, in part because the Travis Hunter, another great wide receiver, we're not sure if he's a wide receiver yet. So we'll get to him. But as far as Tetairoa, he is a real alpha projecting wide receiver, and he's one of the only like alphas out there.
6'5".
Yeah, exactly. Big-bodied, very good athlete, goes up and mosses guys. To me, he's like a
Drake London
light. That was my comp. I think Drake London was a better prospect than McMillan is, but he's got exceptional hands.
I think you made a really good point a second ago that I want to circle back to.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so rare. If Travis Hunter was not a cornerback,
mm-hmm.
and he was coming out as a wide receiver, he'd be the number one prospect.
I think he would be the number one guy.
Wouldn't the rest of these guys kind of fall into place to make you feel different and better about the draft class?
Yeah, you're saying if
Hunter was coming out and he's number one,
and
that
he's
we're
a
talking
star
about,
wide receiver.
He's a star wide receiver, and then McMillan is your number two guy off the board who's still very talented. And some of these other, I just feel like we'd feel better about the class. I think
it's the same humans.
Same humans, but I just feel like Hunter's lack of our knowledge in terms of how often they'll use him as a wideout. Do they use him full time? I think that makes a lot of the difference here.
I will say this. The scouting Shedeur Sanders for last episode's, quarterback previews, it was just like a Travis Hunter highlight.
It really is. It really is.
I am more and
more.
We're
literally stealing McMillan's
we're
time with Travis Hunter.
Good, because Travis Hunter is the best wide receiver in the class. Back when we recorded the wide receivers early for the Dynasty podcast, at that time, it really seemed like Travis Hunter was going to be drafted as a cornerback, maybe, be used as a wide receiver from time to time. But it's much, much, much easier to bring in packages for a wide receiver where it's like, okay, we're going to use you in these situations or these parts of the field, and we've got these plays designed for you, versus doing that on defense. To be an all full-time cornerback and a part-time wide receiver makes a lot more functional sense than the reverse, but it seems like the momentum is building for him to play often at wide receiver. And the more that I watch the film, I can't imagine having this player on my roster, this wide receiver that is on my team.
Yeah, he's a difference maker at the NFL level.
Yeah, and being like, yeah, I'm not going to play you at wide receivers.
It'd be one thing if he didn't want to play wide receiver. If he wanted to focus on one spot only. He doesn't.
No, and
he
I think
wants
he can
to play full-time both ways.
I think he can do it.
And he just stole McMillan's entire time there. But, look, McMillan will go highly. Landing spot, is that going to make a humongous difference on how you view him for fantasy?
I mean,
some players you don't care about coming into the league.
It doesn't matter where he lands for T-Mac. I think he'll be able to. He's an outside guy. He's a 50-50 ball. Like last year,
1,400 yards, 1,300 yards.
But so last year, 25% of his targets were contested. He caught 53% of them. So which those numbers are fine. Like those are acceptable numbers.
Quarterback play was not great in Arizona either.
Sure. The thing for McMillan to me, this wasn't like breaking headline news, didn't get real hot on Twitter, but it was going around. And this matters to me, man, is there was an interview happening with T-Mac that I don't recall what show it was on, but they were asking him about watching film. And he said, "Oh, I don't know how to do that, so I don't do it." Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh no.
What do you think his agent thought when he saw that video?
Yeah, he went immediately to damage control because
Hey T-Mac, you don't have to say those things out loud.
Yeah. When you're in college,
Kyler kept that under wraps for years.
When you're in college, you're bigger and stronger than everybody. Sure, that can work. When you're in the NFL and everyone is as big and as strong as fast as you have to have an edge. You have to be a student of the game. This isn't apples to apples at all. But it's like Johnny Manziel. It eventually came out that he watched zero film, and that dude was a catastrophic flameout in the NFL. Again, not apples to apples because this is a wide receiver, but you got to know, man. You got to know what's the DB who's going to be covering you. What are his tendencies? How does he play? How can I beat that? You cannot just be, I'm bigger than you, so I'm going to figure it out. That it's not something he can't overcome. He could learn how to watch film. But to hear it at this point when you're saying this is the projected number 1 or number 2 wide receiver in the NFL draft, that is troublesome.
Do we want to jump ahead to Travis Hunter then?
Yeah,
we should probably talk about him part and parcel with McMillan because of the opportunity, and he's now the betting favorite to go number 3 to the Giants.
Wild.
So, you talk about getting an athlete, getting a 2-position star, with the opportunity for him to make a big impact on both sides of the ball. 5-star guy, broke every record. This is, a Heisman Trophy winner. It's hard to, run out of things to say positively about Hunter's performance on both sides of the ball. It's just a matter of whether or not he gets the opportunity in the NFL. And, Jason, you're saying that teams need to do that.
Teams do need to do this. Look, I get that people get tired, and these are humans. And
92 receptions.
And it's difficult, right? But you have the chance with the top 5 pick in the NFL draft pick to do it twice. You have the chance as a general manager to say, with the 3rd overall pick, I am drafting a star wide receiver, and I would like another pick. I'm going to draft a star cornerback. This guy played, 115 snaps per game. And he didn't play the second half against Kansas State or Arizona. So if you take those out, you average 132 snaps per game. Goodness. And half of those were in the Colorado altitude. This guy can do it. And he is a special difference-making football player. So, yeah, if I'm a general manager, look, if you play him both ways, you might not get a decade out of him. That might stink, but I'm going to take 5 years of sensational two-way play, and
it's the most safe draft pick you can make.
Yeah.
Because one of them doesn't work out, you still got the draft pick on the other side. So, yeah, what does a fantasy player do, bringing this into our decision-making?
Right.
What does a fantasy player do? Let's say he goes 3 to the Giants.
Well, we will have to wait.
And then McMillan goes 20 picks later. How do you decide that for fantasy?
As far as talent, I think we can all universally say Travis Hunter is a very talented wide receiver. No worries about his ability to be good in the NFL. It's just opportunity. And that we cannot project or know. We have to wait until the team that drafts him says what they're going to do with him. And they might not. They might say, we're going to figure it out. We don't know. Or we've got a plan. You'll see. But they might come out and say, we want him to play both ways full-time. We're going to try that out.
I mean, Travis Hunter and Neighbors.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's a great duo to have as your foundation while you're trying to figure out your quarterback position long-term. Love the fact about Travis Hunter that 2 years ago he was a majority of his snaps he was a slot player, and then he went almost to a full-time exclusive outside player. That's beautiful. He knows all aspects of being a wide receiver, can win on the outside, win on the inside, and he is. I've been for fantasy thinking about rookie drafts, trying to come to terms with just how does this work. Let's say he's a full-time DB, and he's a part-time wide receiver. Okay, well, if you're going down that path, then in theory, he should be on the field for all the important stuff for a wide receiver. Let's say he's not out there on first down blocking for the first and obvious run. Don't care.
He's going to be a 50% targets per route run player.
Right. It's that's great. If he's not going to be on the field for that stuff, wearing him out, that doesn't matter because he wasn't going to have an opportunity anyways. I want my player out there more often than not. A la Jaden Reed, who's out there, half the time. It's because you do the imagine what would Reed be if he actually was a full snap player. So we may run into those with Travis Hunter, but I'm getting more comfortable with the idea of even if they say he's a DB, that
they'll find a way.
He'll be on the field for important stuff, and which would make him. I'm willing to take on the risk of drafting him higher in my rookie drafts than I was at the beginning of this whole process. It was like, dude, you might be lighting your pick on fire. What if he comes out and he just plays DB?
For fantasy.
Yeah, for fantasy, that pick is absolutely toast. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he'll be the full-time DB, part-time wide receiver, but he's so good and will be used in such valuable situations that it might still be fine because he's so good.
McMillan and Hunter, we talked about both of those guys at wide receiver. We'll take a break and talk about some more. All right, let's shift to Luther Burden III.
Man, it's tough.
Out of Mizzou, Jason has him the lowest of the three of us. Mike and I both. Again, the Travis Hunter situation is going to impact. He's going to come above Burden if we get some confidence around his playing time. I might move him there now, actually. But but Burden, what did you like on film, Mike? Luther Burden, smaller guy, 5'11", 205, though. I mean, shorter. He's not McMillan, is what I'm saying.
Right.
He's not a go up and get the ball guy. He's more of a give me the ball and watch me go guy.
Yeah, and it's this. There is some there's some faith being put into his 2023 season where he was 86 for over 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns because the production halved into his next year. I mean, as his final year in college, 61 catches, 676 yards. So it's troubling to have such a breakout campaign and go backwards so far. And I know there's a bunch of other factors that can lead to a downturn in production, but to go that far down is like, dude, something catastrophic better have happened that we're not privy to the knowledge. But when he's at his best, he's one of those, Swiss Army knife type players of who can do so many different things. you want him to land in a spot with a smart offensive coordinator. If he lands with an OC who's really a curmudgeon-y, old-school football guy, then Luther Burden will go down my rankings. If he goes to someone who knows how to use a player who is so shifty and can make such incredible things happen, a high level of talent, then I'll still be in
creativity.
On him.
I mean, he's a 5-star recruit. 54 of his 147 catches over the last 2 years were screens.
That's what I mean.
And he was a prolific special teams player.
It's because when the ball's in his hands, he's probably the most special wide receiver in this entire class, better than Hunter or T-Mac. Like, once the ball's in his hands, he is electric. He breaks tackles.
Number one.
Runs backwards way too much. That
Sure.
is not going to work in the NFL. He's got a lot of like Deebo Samuel, not that size, but just breaks tackles. Can't, he is really sensational in that area, which is why he had so many screen passes. Also because his quarterback sucks.
Sure.
I mean, wow, bad. But, so it's like, just get the ball in the hands of my playmaker, and he's very, very good at that. As a wide receiver, I have worries, like the down the field routes. Now, I didn't scout 2023. Statistically, he was far better wide receiver then.
Mm-hmm.
I scouted the 2024 season. That's kind of my process. I always look at what the most recent thing is. Maybe I'll go and watch a game earlier, and I made a note. I want to go and watch more of 2023, but the 2024 film left me wanting as a wide receiver, left me excited as an athlete, as a talented
4.41,
playmaker.
91st percentile speed.
I mean, you saw it. You saw it on film. He is a better athlete than most of the guys there. He'll probably be a first-round pick. Maybe he's in that he's in that bubble, but there's a lot of history of like first-round running backs pretty much don't bust.
Yeah.
They just don't. They're almost always great unless some injury happens or something. But you look back at first-round wide receivers and you see the Kevin Whites and Nelson Aguilars and Corey Colemans and Josh Doxsons and John
Sammy
Rosses.
Watkins.
I mean, there's just like it is frequent and common because wide receivers are so needed.
Wandale?
That guys are drafted in the first.
Wasn't Wandale?
No, I think he was a second. You're thinking about
Who am I thinking of?
before him. Oh my God, he got traded to the Chiefs.
Kadarius Toney.
Tony was a first rounder. Yeah,
N'Keal Harry. I mean, there's no.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
you
reasons
could,
to
you
be
could go on and
skittish.
on and on. And
Yeah.
I just saw some. I wanted to see some more wide receiver skills, and I didn't see it in 2024.
Which is one of those things where you're going to have to trust either that the player can do that at the next level, because they're going to need to produce.
Yeah.
Emeka Egbuka.
yeah.
The safest pick in this draft. That's the There's. I will be shocked if this dude busts on an NFL level.
Yeah.
Problem is, for fantasy football, will he be a guy who could ever be 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns? Doesn't really project that either. He just projects to be an incredibly good, solid wide receiver. I moved him up to my number 3, just because that's good.
That's where he was for me, depending on Hunter. All-time record at Ohio State for receptions. Battled through injuries in 2023. Over 1,000 yards last year, 10 touchdowns. But, we're not a Jamar Chase type of season or player, but solid is probably a good descriptor.
Yeah, and you have this.
Like, is
You
it
have
who? The Cardinals, too. Michael Wilson.
He's way better than Michael
Yeah,
Wilson.
I think he's a better player than Michael Wilson. And you have the Ohio State pedigree of, look, if a wide receiver goes in the NFL from Ohio State or from LSU, I'm
Do you think he's a second-round pick?
I think he's a first-round pick.
He's seeing some steam to be a first-rounder. Second-rounder at the lowest for him.
Yeah, because it's not a great draft class and there's a lot of needy teams at wide receiver, I think he'll go by the second round. He was a 5-star recruit. He's the number 1 wide receiver in his recruiting class ahead of Brian Thomas Jr. and Xavier Worthy and Malik Neighbors. So this is not a guy out of nowhere. He was, brought into Ohio State to be an excellent wide receiver, broke a lot of records. He'll go high in the NFL. And as far as like quality, he's a very good athlete, very good hands, very good route runner. He's just solid at everything. He's not the explosive
Loves to
Brian
block.
Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors type of athlete that makes you really excited for fantasy football. But goodness gracious, as a number 2 for the NFL team,
that's what he feels like to me.
Yeah, I mean me too. That's what he is. But he's going to be really valuable number 2 for a team who should be, 85 receptions and 1,000 yards on a regular basis, which matters for fantasy. And when I'm looking at making these picks, that's why I've got him ahead of Luther Burden. Burden's ceiling is higher, but I feel like Burden could easily not work in the NFL. I just don't see how Egbuka doesn't succeed as just being a possession slot receiver that is helpful for an NFL team.
Matthew Golden, Jason.
Oh, my goodness.
Out of Texas, who unfortunately took down the Sun Devils in that amazing matchup. But
he's flying up draft boards.
Yeah, first round is definitely in the cards for Matthew Golden. 4.29, is that what he ran?
He was the fastest guy there.
See, I didn't look at him in college and say he's only a speedster. That's not the way that I looked at his skill set. I thought he was a more complete receiver than that. Jason, you have him lower than we do. Was there just nothing that jumped off that made you feel as excited about him as you did about maybe Egbuka?
I think he was able to disappear a lot, and that's kind of what I just didn't like. And you saw that in his production profile. His production profile is not sensational. It's not that great.
No, it's
and when
not.
I watch these games, he would have these amazing games where it's wow, he dominates, that ASU game. You watch that game, and if that's the only game you scout, you say this is maybe the best wide receiver in the draft class. He did it.
That game in the Combine jumped his
They're doing work.
status drastically.
But if you scout other games, you go, oh, he's not really a very important part of the offense, didn't move the needle for this game. They didn't, so I have a hard time seeing him as a dominant NFL force, but I do like the skills, the individual traits he has. I didn't watch film and say he's not a good route runner, or he's got bad hands, or he's not a good athlete. He had all those things. He just had the ability to completely disappear, and I don't like that from a college prospect.
Do you and it's off the top of the head, but do you remember your Jason, your feelings on Worthy out of Texas, who, same thing, goes and runs, and he's the fastest man alive, and the production profile is not there.
Oh, I like this production profile.
Oh, but
Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, I'm saying compared to superstars,
right?
It's the speed is doing a lot of lifting for him. Did you feel like
I was way higher on Xavier Worthy?
Okay,
yeah, I liked his, and this is before the Chiefs drafted him. I liked Xavier Worthy. I thought he was a better route runner. I saw the speed on tape a little bit more than I saw for Matthew Golden. Unlike Kyle, who can't see speed.
They have a very similar yards per route run, Worthy and Golden.
So Matthew Golden, in mock drafts, it's just mock drafts, but he essentially from the last summer was like a fifth round pick, and to skyrocket all the way into the first without having overwhelming, he's not over 1,000 receiving yards. And I know he's real fast, but this is, it's troubling to me because the NFL draft capital, mixing that with what we know of, that's the easiest way to find a player who's going to be good for your rookie draft, but the production is just not where
we've been seeing mock drafts where he's the number one wide receiver taken.
I'm scared. I'm skittish on Matthew Golden.
Tre Harris.
I love Tre Harris.
You're the highest. Ole Miss was a senior, 6'3", 210, physical. Is that what jumped off the page?
Yeah. The fact that he's 6'3", 210, can play like an alpha. There's not many of them in this draft class. He breaks tackles. Honestly, I think I like that he had utilization in all parts of the field. They got him in the screen game. They got him across the middle in the intermediate game. He would go down the field. His production seemed really, really good. Had a good breakout age. I don't usually like players playing 4 seasons, and not coming out early, but
stuff's different now.
Yeah, with the way that college football is and the transfer portal and getting that shmoney.
Yeah.
I don't blame him, but there was a lot that I really liked. He has an NFL body, and so if he can, it'll have to be seen if he can prove that he can separate against in the NFL, but I think he can. And I don't know. I saw some dog in him. What did you guys think about Tre Harris?
More than Golden?
I did. I liked him more than Golden, and I even have him personally above Luther Burden. Again, I think Luther Burden's athleticism has him. His ceiling is he could be the best wide receiver in this class. I just had more concerns with him. I feel like Tre Harris checked more boxes for me.
Yeah, I was with you. That I liked the tape of Tre Harris, where for a guy who's not buzzing the same as the other wide receivers.
Where's he projected right now?
Well, that's a good question. I have no idea. I definitely when I finished doing all of my wide receiver scouting, and then I looked at like where the industry consensus is. I was like, apparently I like Tre Harris more than everybody. So I don't know if he's
late second, early third is what I'm seeing in mock drafts.
Okay.
On NFL mock draft database, their big boards, he's the wide receiver 7.
And he's part of that Ole Miss offense that some people are worried about with even Jackson Dart's production.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that's maybe holding him back a little bit.
Little known fact, he was Malik Neighbors' quarterback in high school.
What?
Yeah. He was
what?
Yeah. I think there was a story like Neighbors told him he had to be his quarterback or something. Kyle, can you remind me what that was?
That's correct.
That was what it was. Malik Neighbors was like, you have to be my quarterback.
It's funny, his production at Ole Miss over the final year was very similar to the total production of Matthew Golden. I mean, they were both right around 1,000 yards.
Sure,
60
but look
receptions,
at games played.
9 touchdowns.
Trey Harris did that in 9 games, and Matthew Gold did it in 16.
Yes, yeah. I guess I was looking at the
you're just
game agnostic yards per catch numbers more so, but that's super impressive. I mean, maybe you're talking about a first-round pick if he had more time on the field.
Yeah,
possible.
Other remaining wide receivers in the UDK Plus rankings that you want to flag is it
Besh?
Yeah. If you've been listening to the Dynasty podcast, you will have followed the journey with us of falling more and more in love with Jack Besh from TCU. He is terrifying. Because he's one of these guys where it's kind of like an Xavier Legette of it took a long time. You finally got a big bada boom of a season, but when you only get that one big bada boom compared to the rest of your career, it's very, very scary. But watching him on the film, he's smooth and he gets open.
I think we're all pretty much fans of him. I think
so.
Besh buds.
Yes.
So
at least on the Dino Pod we are.
Swish. Got it. All right.
Do you guys like Restrepo at all? Watching Cam Ward highlights and film and seeing him make a lot of plays in Miami?
I thought he was an okay-ish wide receiver. He has his own drama going on he ran at his pro day, and it was a catastrophe.
Yeah, you don't let a man run.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It's a number that the people around you have to protect you from yourself from running, and it felt weird because that's not who I thought I was seeing on the field. And then a tweet goes up
4.83.
And that's a pro day. So that even is.
So it's like 4.89.
Yeah, it could be even slower than that because they're using a hand timer instead of a laser. But again, I didn't think he was that slow.
Laser.
And then a tweet goes up from him saying, "This is what happened. I was running at this.
I tripped.
I got he said I was running at this. I got hurt before the run, and I decided I was going to run anyways." And you're like, okay, I figured an injury excuse was coming up. And then that tweet got deleted.
Oh.
Which just led to the intrigue of what is going on here.
Yeah, I liked Restrepo's film and his dog in him. Like he's a fiery guy.
Oh, hey, I need a full dog meter on my when I'm doing my rankings. It matters to me.
There are some guys who do not have the dog in them, and we're going to talk about one of them in a minute.
Okay, we'll take a break. We'll talk tight ends. The rookie preview continues. We'll move into the tight end position where we may see a couple of first-rounders this year.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start with Tyler Warren out of Penn State. 6'5", 250. He's 22 years old. when you look at Tyler Warren and the kind of impact he can make at the next level, is there a comp that you have in mind? Is there a expectation that you have in mind in terms of what you'll see as a rookie? This was 104 reception.
It's ridiculous.
Superstar last year.
Absolutely ridiculous.
1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, making plays all over the field. The offense was regularly configured to get him the football in any way necessary.
You had 50% of his targets result in a first down or a touchdown. That is absolute nonsense.
You should throw him the ball every play.
104 receptions says that. They focused on it. He was the 2024 John Mackey Award winner, which that list is for the majority is awesome.
Bowers twice, McBride, Pitts, Hawkinson, Andrews.
It's not perfect. Like Harrison Bryant it ended up being a miss.
Oh, you always used to love Harrison Bryant.
Yeah, which the Mackey Award certainly influenced how much I like him. But Tyler Warren, this is no concerns.
Yeah, no concerns.
No concerns for the dog of Tyler Warren. When I'm watching his college film,
woof, woof.
It was like I'm like, okay, I could see Trey McBride here. I can see a guy who
loved it.
Like I'm not finesse. I can finesse, but if you think you're going to hit me, think again, because I'm going to hit you, and I want to punish people for trying to tackle me, and that's the type of stuff that I love, and he's firmly at the tight end one spot for me.
I love when human beings that are 6'5", 256 pounds don't seem like it. Like you watch film and you just it's not like he moves
better, yeah,
like a guy that's 6 foot 210, and that the body control, the hands.
I mean, that's kind of George Kittle. I mean, Kittle's 6'4", 250.
Exactly. So
doesn't look like it.
I really, really, really like Tyler Warren. I think he's firmly everyone's number one. Both in
there's a little there's a pocket of the Colston Loveland people,
right? The people who don't pay attention to the dog meter. Yes,
right.
So this is your great controversy is you have decided to put a young man, 20-year-old young man, Colston Loveland.
Well, not in the doghouse. I'll tell you, he's not there.
This guy wishes he was in the doghouse.
This has become I feel like this has come from, like, it was a subtle side. It was like a little bit of a side note in your analysis of Colston Loveland, who should be a first-round pick, and it's become the predominant focal point here.
Before we move to him, Tyler Warren, there aren't a lot of concerns. He does everything well. He runs routes well. His hands are great. His size is great. His athleticism.
Lives in the doghouse.
I don't. It was weird that it was a fourth-year breakout. He hadn't done much until all of a sudden he was the centerpiece of the offense, but he was the centerpiece. He's done enough. He's going to have the draft capital. I'm guessing he will be slightly overdrafted because of what Brock Bowers just did on the heels of, this is 2 years in a row where the number one tight end as a rookie finishes as the number one tight end in fantasy.
That's so wild.
Yeah, and
I love it.
And so I think Tyler Warren will be a little bit overdrafted for that reason. He is not the same caliber as a Brock Bowers, but he is an absolutely very prolific tight end.
Colston Loveland.
Colston, I mean, he'll be a first-round draft pick, it seems, and potentially could be drafted ahead of Tyler Warren.
Targeted on 38% of his routes. That's the highest targeted per route run number of any tight end prospect over the last decade. Michigan tight end does not have the 104 reception, 1,200-yard output of Tyler Warren, but as Mike said, there are pockets of people that don't just like Loveland. They love.
Yeah, I mean, I know Matthew Betts is very bullish on Colston Loveland, and I like him too. I think that there are, personally, in my rankings, there are three guys who are kind of tier one type of prospects. Colston Loveland is still there. As he's basically a wide receiver. So there's different types of tight ends out there. There's
but he's big. Like, this isn't like Evan Engram where he's a tight end, but he's almost like a tweener in physical stature.
But it is like Evan Engram in how he plays.
Yeah.
And, he's not going to get in there and block. He's not going to mow people over. He's really being used as a 6'6", 248-pound wide receiver, which for fantasy, that gets us hot and bothered. That's great. We don't need him in blocking. We want him to go Jimmy Graham and get down the field and catch the ball. He's 20 years old. So there's a lot to like, but he didn't break tackles, which is crazy to me. Like when I'm watching a 250-pound young man
and
out
that's your dog analysis?
That was pretty much my dog analysis. Is he just?
I was going to ask you how you find out whether somebody's got the dog in there.
Well,
like
there's
if
a
you
couple
were to,
ways.
Like Deucer's Alley, how would you know who's got the dog?
There's one back there.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
one.
Okay.
And I
He
think
knows
we
who
all,
he is.
Yeah, we all know who it is.
He knows who he is. He's got
They're
a trophy.
all nodding, though.
Yeah, he's got a trophy. He's got a trophy
Oh,
for sure.
no.
Yeah, I want you to stand up after the play and get in someone's face.
Here's the thing. I mean, like this is just a
Wait,
rough one.
does Mike have the dog in him?
I don't know.
Do I have the dog in me?
No.
Oh, I don't?
No. You don't have the
because here's what I was going to give you, Andy.
I tried to fight a lot of people on the football field.
And you won't feel bad
That's
about
not the
this.
dog.
But it's a quick judge of character. It's not everything.
I'm offended based on your consensus.
Listen to me. Imagine you are something has happened and a fight is starting between you and another guy.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable.
Right.
And the dogometer is your friend to your right.
Okay.
And how confident are you in going into that fight of like
this
this will
the
not
dog
be
meter?
a problem? That's part of it.
Huh. Well,
And I know if a fight starts that I don't have to fight anybody.
Right, Jeremy.
Because
Al will
Jeremy
take care
will
of
be, Mike, you got to hold it. We're going to hold me back, and he'll just jump in there, and he'll handle the business.
Okay, no, that's
Colston
fine.
Loveland, I don't know if he'll do that.
When you get in that fight,
Do you have to
how
be able
soon
to?
do you headbutt? That's part of the dog meter.
What about
how soon do you start throwing your head around like I'm going to attack you with the hardest part of my body?
Can you be? What if you can't be in the same room as a small, tiny spider?
That has nothing to do with the dog. Has nothing to do with the dog.
All right. So Loveland, you felt the tackle breaking was connected to the dog meter.
And by the way, he forced 3 missed tackles.
Now, see, I don't know if I should take Jason's dislike as a prescription for a rookie breakout season.
Oh, maybe.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been bullish on the rookie prospects of immediate success, but obviously that has changed in recent years, and we've talked about this. If you're just jumping back into the show because we're talking rookies, that's one of those things we've talked about over the last couple months that's changed. I think tight ends now are coming in, being utilized more quickly in the rookie season. It's just the modern NFL.
Well, I like the wide receiver part of the Loveland experience if they can put him on a team where he can contribute right away. Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green.
This is the fun one, man. Funny one, because if you watched
No.
you banked it in. Bank shot. I'm going to say bank shot.
That's not a bank.
But he didn't call
Bank's
it.
closed.
He didn't call the bank, but
So
he
it
made
doesn't
it.
call- it
It was
doesn't
an
count then.
accidental score.
But the Besh Bros over there. It's just if you like the player, man.
Well, Harold Fannin Jr., if you watch him and you leave, he's from Bowling Green, so he doesn't have the same level of competition for most of his games.
What about the 100?
If you stop watching the film and you go, I don't like that guy, I don't blame you. I stopped watching the film and I was like, I don't understand. Kind of like Cam Scadaboo. I don't understand it.
117 receptions for 1,500 yards.
You don't look super athletic. You
Didn't-
run
didn't
awkwardly.
test.
You didn't test
Super
well.
athletically.
But ain't nobody bringing you down. He's, so
Got
prolific.
the dog in him?
Oh, yeah, he's got the dog in him. He is a football player.
I'm about done with that.
So he was a 0-star recruit, came in as a linebacker safety, and then someone was like, hey, this guy's got the dog. Get him the ball in his hands. And he was great, man. He was 1,555 yards, 117 receptions, touchdowns, broke tackles every play. I believe he's going to work in the NFL.
Where's he projected right now? 2 or 3?
That
4 or 5?
I think he's a
6 or 7?
second or third round. The fact that he's from Bowling Green is going to hurt him because you say, okay, these guys aren't tackling him, but he doesn't have the same level of competition. However, there were games where he played against Penn State, and great athletes, and he dominated in that game. Just
what state is Bowling Green in, Jason?
Oh, you could give me 25 guesses, and I would probably get it wrong. I'm going to go Idaho. Wait, is anything in Idaho?
Yeah, there are
They have
things, but
colleges and
not
stuff?
this
The
college.
Bowling
Vandals
Green.
are there.
No, you're going to
Okay.
need to go.
I'm gonna go east?
Head east.
I'm going to go Ohio.
Yeah,
Oh, all right. Number 2.
number
I'm
2.
the smartest man alive.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Idaho sounds like Ohio.
Right, they're basically the same.
Pretty similar.
You ever had Ohio potatoes?
Oh,
Mike, any thoughts on Fannin?
Yeah, it's called a 49% dominator rating, which means 49% of the team's passing yards and passing touchdowns went to Harold Fannin Jr.
Wait, there's a Bowling Green in Kentucky too? Which one's the college in?
which
The
one?
college is in Ohio, but there is
okay.
a Bowling Green,
Okay.
Kentucky.
Okay.
He is. I don't know what the NFL is going to think of him because of the competition.
Any other tight ends you want to talk about?
No, to me, there.
And we're just going to end up making fun of guys.
I think so. Elijah Arroyo, Terrence Ferguson, Mason Taylor, those guys will all be highly drafted. They are worth knowing their
Ferguson?
names.
There's
yeah,
another one.
okay.
Yeah, T Ferg.
But
But
he's super athletic.
I do think Tyler Warren,
You got a big hat.
Colston Loveland, and Harold Fannin Jr. have the chance. Each one of them have the chance to break into weekly relevant starters in the NFL for fantasy.
Okay, so then
There's
quickly.
a Bowling Green, Indiana.
How many Bowling Greens?
Let me
do
ask
we
you this:
need?
is there a Bowling Green in Idaho? Because that would be great.
I mean, you would be right then.
That's my point.
So, while we like the production profile,
There's a lot of states with a Bowling Green, man. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Why? Why Bowling Green? Is it?
yeah, what is going
that a-
on?
Is that a person's name? Man, we sound
No,
stupid.
someone get into this. So Harold Fannin, small school, outrageous production profile. But meanwhile, Mason Taylor out of LSU he's projected to go very high in the NFL draft. So Jay, he's not included in your 3 for fantasy. But do you have
A
do you
Bowling
really
Green
like
is
Mason
a
Taylor at all?
finely laid,
Here we
close,
go.
mown, and rolled stretch of turf for playing the game of bowls.
Okay.
So that
The game
which I
of
think is
bowls.
bocce. Is that bocce? It's a Bowling Green. That's why they're named.
Don't
that.
you play?
okay.
Wait,
You roll a ball on a green.
what's the one you play in the sand?
I don't know, Mike.
They're like just a little yard game.
In the sand. What's the sand
I
got
don't-
to do with anything?
Yeah. What are you talking? What are you even
What
talking
are you
Well, yeah,
even?
I think you're thinking of bocce ball, because a lot of times they are
The
on
game of bowls
In the sand.
is lawn
Yeah.
bowling.
Okay, that's why I was bringing it up, because he was saying it's played on the grass, so I got confused. What are you even talking about?
Bocce balls.
Fight.
Bocce ball's not played on the sand. You drunks.
There are a lot of bocce ball, whatever those.
You
Yeah,
don't roll balls on sand.
When you play
A bocce ball, you throw the
backyard
little
bocce
ball
balls
out.
in
You
here
throw
are
the little
sand.
ball out, and then you roll another
You're
ball
thinking
to
of-
it.
That's lawn bowling, isn't
That's what a Bowling Green is for.
it? Right, but that's not bocce.
No, but bocce ball.
Look in Slack.
Oh
No,
man.
Bocce's
This is
on the
great.
sand, right?
That's not. Bocce is not on the sand.
Oh man, this
Fight.
is.
Fight. Fight.
I thought it was on the sand.
Okay. Well, we know nothing.
Yeah.
It might be on gravel. I can live with gravel because you can roll a ball on gravel. You don't go to the beach and play bocce ball.
It is more like gravel.
All
Okay,
right.
fine. Grab
All right,
it.
we can
What was
compromise.
the player, Mike? What was the player you were
You
wondering
ever been to
about?
Gravel U?
Mason Taylor from LSU.
So that's the son of Hall of Fame.
Jason Taylor.
Jason Taylor from the Dolphins. And when I watched Mason Taylor, I thought he was a very good, well-rounded NFL tight end. I don't see him as a fantasy. He'll be someone that maybe you stream in the right matchup,
Like a
the way
like
Tyler
a Higbee?
Conklin or Higbee. Like,
Okay.
he was in the right spot at the right time, did the right things, but didn't seem exceptional.
Okay.
Any of you been to any of the 37 Bowling Green universities before?
I have not.
Oh.
Only
You
the one
gotta-
in Idaho.
You gotta go. You gotta go. All right, we are done talking.
Man, so many pictures of beach bocce ball.
Yep. No.
Wow.
No.
Now, are those AI or are those
No.
real?
No,
I'm
those
sure
are all
they're
real.
AI.
Nope.
If you search bocce ball and you go to images, you see more grass than you do sand.
It's just a very versatile sport is what I'm finding out.
Or sand is much harder than I imagined it to be. I am done. We're done. The show is over.
You certainly see a lot of pictures of sand as well.
Some sand.
You were wrong. It's played in the sand as
Shut
well.
up. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.